Hey, what's up guys? It's Tibbs, and as of yesterday, it is once again the world first race season in retail World of Warcraft, where tens, if not hundreds of guilds across the world will be competing neck and neck in order to earn that world first boss kill at the end of the Battle of daz'alor raid tier. Now, the world first race is a very, very coveted and traditional race in the World of Warcraft community, dating all the way back to Ragnaros in vanilla World of Warcraft, and actually predating World of Warcraft as a whole. You've had world first races in games like EverQuest and so on and so forth. So the tradition of downing a boss first has always been in the MMO genre, and technically in the entire gaming genre as a whole. And as with anything that holds a lot of sentimental and traditional value, there are a lot of questions and there are a lot of debates that surround the topic. And the biggest question that I get personally as a Classic WoW content creator is how I think the top retail guilds will perform in Classic WoW raids in comparison to their private server or vanilla guild counterparts. And this is a question that I've been asked so many times. I do my best to answer it every single time on stream, but I figured a video would be necessary for this topic because it's a lot broader and a lot more nuanced than most people think. And because it is the world first race season, I think it's a good time to discuss this topic now while people are still interested in it. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by analyzing the current top retail guilds, and I'll pretty much give my hypothesis as to how I think they will perform in Classic. Then I will talk about the current Classic guilds and how I think they will perform in Classic, and I'll give my closing thoughts at the very end. So starting off with the retail guilds, most notably organizations like Method and Exorcist, I want to start off by saying, specifically with Method, to my knowledge, Method does not plan on going all in on Classic in terms of rating. As you guys could probably already deduce, Method is a huge organization now. They are the masters of rating in World of Warcraft history, and I believe they have actually acquired the most N-tier world first kills out of any guild in World of Warcraft history. So you could very well make the case that not only are they the best guild in the world currently, they could be the best guild in World of Warcraft history when it comes to PvE content clearing. Now, there's a debate there. Define what is best. I mean, just because they're number one, does that make them more dominant than other guilds were in the past? I'm not going to get into that argument for this video. What I'm just trying to say is that based on Method's current credentials, they are the best guild in the world and perhaps one of the best guilds of all time. Taking that Method example, how do I think the best guild of all time will do in Classic World of Warcraft, assuming that they would actually go hard in the game? Once again, just to reiterate, Method is not going hard in Classic, but let's just assume, let's have some fun with this. Let's imagine they actually did. Well, today is January 23rd. Classic WoW will presumably release sometime in the summer. My guess is August 27th, so that's around 7 months away. If the Method organization dropped everything they were doing now and focused solely on Classic between now and August 27th, they still would not be in the top 5 world first guilds in Classic WoW. And that has nothing to do with their skill level. The guys in Method are no joke. You don't become a Method raider by AFKing dungeons. You don't become a Method raider by being a scrub. It takes a tremendous amount of dedication, commitment, and skill to join that organization. So when I say that they wouldn't be in the top 5 even if they practice for the next 7 months, that's not a slight to the Method organization, it's not a slight to their talent. These guys are some of the best gamers in the world, and I don't think I can emphasize that enough, honestly. That said, Classic WoW is not entirely about skill, it's not entirely about mechanical reflex. If anything, that is one of the smallest elements of vanilla WoW PvE content. The vast majority of vanilla WoW PvE skill cap is derived from knowledge and derived from experience. And the fact of the matter is, some of the top private server guilds and players in the world have been playing vanilla for nearly 10 years. And as a result, there is absolutely no quantitative way that Method could acquire that much experience in such a short period of time, especially since a lot of the high-end vanilla PvE knowledge is very, very well hidden and very, very restricted. I know we've done some class deep dives on this channel before, we've done some PvE guides before. The information that we present in those guides is but a fraction of the high-end steps that are required in vanilla PvE to attain those super fast speed runs and super fast speed clears that guilds like Progress, Return, Apes, etc. achieve. At the end of the day, Method simply does not have the time to make up that guilds like, again, Apes, Progress, Return have acquired over the past 10 years. There's just not enough time. So as a result, I don't think they would place in the top 5. And if they're not going to take it seriously, if they're not going to be dropping everything today, which they're not, I don't even think Method could place in the top 10, possibly the top 20. Now, once again, this is not a slight to the Method organization, nor to the players. If anything, it is an acknowledgement of their dedication and commitment to retail World of Warcraft and subsequently their skill. Those guys are incredibly talented players, again, some of the best gamers in the world. I can't see them leaving one commitment for another. It's just too big of a risk. Now, everything that I have just mentioned has been stated in the context of the first tier raid in Vanilla WoW, and that is Molten Core and Naxxramas. As time goes on in Vanilla World of Warcraft, or I should say in Classic World of Warcraft, more and more raids come out, and more experience is garnered by the Method players, meaning that 6 months into Classic WoW, the average Method raider will be a lot better at the game than they were 6 months prior. And because the game has actually been released, the quality of experience and knowledge they are receiving is much higher than if they were to drop everything right now and just study up on Classic. So by the time BWL rolls around, I can totally see the top retail guilds, such as Method, rising up quickly on those world first kills, albeit I cannot really see them breaking the top 5 just yet. There are too many good private server guilds out there, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but I can totally see Method inching closer and closer, assuming they dedicate all their resources to Classic WoW, of course. I can see them progressively getting better as time goes on, because once again, these guys have the talent, they have the skill, but what they're missing is that knowledge, is that experience, and that can only really be received when Classic is actually out. Again, I don't see them breaking the top 5 in BWL, but then AQ comes along. And I think that's something around 1 year-ish or so after Classic WoW launches, at least per the original vanilla timeline. At this point, once again, in the hypothetical situation that Method is going full on with Classic, which they've already said they're not, but hey, this is a video, we're just doing this for fun anyways. Assuming they're going hard in Classic, and assuming they've had a year of full-time play in Classic, this is where the scales start to tip a little bit, in my opinion. I totally think that Method could crack the top 5 by the time AQ rolls around. They would have had so much time to practice up on Classic, they would have garnered a tremendous amount of experience, and a lot of these Method guys do this for a living. They're able to play 16, 20 hours a day, every single day for a year's time, and of course they have that natural talent, so I have no doubt that over time, those top retail rating players will eventually seep into the top 5 and become one of the top contenders, even in the Classic rating scene. If you are a top-end player in the vanilla private server scene and you think I'm sliding you now, I am not. Absolutely not. The top vanilla WoW players in the world are incredible. I still think the top 3 guilds will always be vanilla WoW guilds, or guilds that have a tremendous amount of experience, at least for this iteration of Classic WoW. Maybe 2-3 years down the line, if fresh servers are launched, things could change up. But the fact of the matter is, and again, this is not a slight to vanilla WoW players at all, the fact of the matter is, a very small selection of people have been playing on private servers over the past couple of years, even over the past 10 years. At least relative to the amount of people that have played retail WoW. I think retail WoW has had over 200 million accounts created since its inception, whereas private servers, even if you added all of the private servers up in the world, would probably have less than 10 million accounts created. So that's like 20 times more sample size in the retail scene than in the private server scene. And you've got to believe, just with simple math deduction, you've got to believe that there are a lot of good players in the retail scene as well. And it might mean that there are some better players there too. When you're competing with your local, your local schoolyard to see who's the best football player, obviously that level of competition is much less than when you're competing with the entire NFL. But yeah, AQ, I can totally see top-end retail guilds making their way through that top 5, potentially cracking it if they recruit super hard in the classic WoW scene and they manage to poach some old school vanilla players. I can see them cracking that top 5. Now, Naxxramas, the ultimate raid in classic WoW history, one of the most fabled raids in all of World of Warcraft. How do I think the top retail guilds will do in Naxx? So by that point, assuming we are going by the original vanilla World of Warcraft timeline, by that point, classic WoW will have been released for about a year and a half. 18 months is a lot of time to get experienced with a game, especially when the game is at the forefront of your mind and when you are allocating all of your resources towards that game. Not just your personal resources, mind you, but your entire gaming organization's resources that Method is exposed to. By that point, I can totally see the top retail guilds. Again, if they study up, if they PTR up, if they practice, and if they dedicate their full time and effort into classic WoW, I can totally see Method getting into that 4th position spot. Will they ever crack the top 3? Only if they poach players from vanilla guilds, but assuming it is the current Method raid roster, it's very difficult to see them cracking the top 3 unless one of these private server guilds ends up disbanding or something along those lines, or as I just mentioned, unless Method poaches some of the top vanilla players. At the end of the day, 10 years of experience is just, it's so hard to replicate in such a short period of time. But that said, it is entirely possible. So by this point, I think some Method players who are watching this video might be a little upset, thinking I'm underrating them, and some private server players in those top guilds might be a little upset, thinking I'm not appreciating the time and effort they put into the game. So both sides hate me right now, but I'm trying to be as objective and honest as possible from an outsider's perspective. Once again, I will say it loud and clear. I'm not trying to underestimate anyone's talents here. The fact of the matter is, to all the Method players, vanilla WoW is just so knowledge and experience based. And I know you guys are great at Mythic Plus, I know you guys are great at raiding and retail WoW. The entire raid system in vanilla is just so different to retail. The mechanics are different, what you have to watch for is different, class abilities are different, consumables are different, world buffs are different, everything is different. The gear process is different. It's just too different, and there is a steep learning curve associated with that gearing up process, a curve that I can't really see you guys overcoming within the first 6 to 12 months of Classic's release, but perhaps later on, definitely, if you guys go all in. And to the private server guilds, once again, I will say, those guys that are playing vanilla at the highest level right now, they're not just experienced vanilla veterans, they're also incredibly talented gamers. And I don't think that the private server top end receives the credit that it deserves. I've heard a lot of top retail players dismiss the private server community high end, saying that the only reason they're successful is because nobody else is competing with them. I think that's simplifying a very, very deep and complicated question. And as somebody that's seen some of these guys play at the highest level, I will tell you these guys are not just good gamers because they're in the vanilla scene. They're good gamers because they are talented and very, very skilled. There's a lot of competition and trash talking on both sides, but again, from an objective lens, I do think those private server guilds will dominate, at least in the first couple of tiers, with organizations like Method, like Exorcist, having an opportunity to break into that top echelon of players and top echelon of guilds if and only if they allocate all of their resources into Classic, which we already know once again that is probably not going to happen. I hope that settles things for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, sub it up and stick around because we got more coming. For more Classic WoW content, news, and updates, you can follow me on Twitter as well. And I do want to say a big thank you to my patrons over at patreon.com/tipsoutbaby. You guys make videos like this possible, and if you guys like the content and would like to support the channel as well, the link has been provided in the description for you. But aside from that, guys, I will see you on Twitch, and as always, tips out, baby.